this is my OP1, and I bought this maybe 6 or 7, 8 years ago, and I absolutely love this thing. I've used it on literally, I think, every single project I've worked on since I got it. It's found its way into the mix in some way, shape, or form. It's amazing for sound design. It's amazing for ear candy, little interesting things. It's just inspiring to play. It's so musical and fun and childlike, and I am a huge teenage engineering fan. So when I saw that they were coming out with the OP1 Field, the update to this, I bought it immediately. And it finally came in a couple days ago. And I wanted to compare the new one with the old one because the new one is expensive, and I've been seeing a lot of people talk online that it just seems overpriced compared to the original.
Big question.
Please. Oh, money?
How much?
Money?
Yeah.
What was it? $19.99.
Okay. So, quite a bit more.
Yes.
Which I think is true. But I think the flip side to that is there's never been a better time to buy an OP1. The original OP1 is now more available than ever as people are selling them to get the Field. And you're getting almost the exact same functionality. It's really hard to recommend the OP1 Field. As much as I love it, it's just kind of difficult for someone that's never played one. I wouldn't recommend going to the Field first. It's so much more expensive than the original, and you're not really getting that much more functionality, in my opinion. So what is the OP1? Why is it so amazing? Here, I just want to take a minute and just talk about why this synth is so great and then what the differences are between them. So the OP1 is a synthesizer and sampler. There are, let's see, how many synth nodes are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 synth engines. One of those is a sampler. So 11 synth engines, basically. And there's a melodic sampler where you can tune something across the keyboard. And there's also a drum sampler, which takes one chunk of audio and then slices it by default at the transients, and then there's other ways that you can kind of slice stuff. It's also bundled with a bunch of really cool effects that you can load onto the instruments, a bunch of cool arpeggiators like these fun monkeys. The way that the sampler actually takes in audio is from the radio, which is super fun, or there's a line input where you can record stuff in that way. You can also use it as an audio interface with your computer to send audio directly from your computer into the sampler, which is pretty neat. You can record up to 4 tracks of those instruments. So you can be on a plane, whatever, make a little song, use these fun little instruments and these effects, and then load those files onto your computer. Very cool. So now is where they start to diverge a little bit. The original OP1 is mono throughout most of the architecture until it gets to the master bus. And at that point, you can pan the individual tracks to create a stereo field. And you can also put one stereo effect on the whole mix. Whereas the OP1 Field has a stereo architecture all the way throughout. So the individual tracks themselves are stereo. That sometimes has a really big implication, like stereo sampling. That's very different than mono sampling. On certain synth engines, it makes almost no difference, if any difference at all. There's one synth engine in particular that's built around kind of this stereo idea that obviously won't work on the original OP1. But most of the synth engines are identical between them. The OP1 Field can also save projects in a sense. On the original OP1, you had up to 4 tracks that you could record up to 6 minutes. The new OP1 Field has that functionality, but you can also save those 4 tracks, that 6-minute long 4 tracks, as a tape reel. And you can create a lot of those. You can create, I think up to 16, because they have 4 different kind of tape modes, tape machines that sound slightly different. And then you can save different reels inside of those. And those reels, again, are just a 6-minute chunk of those 4 tracks. So that's actually quite a bit of space. And I've found just in messing around with the OP1 Field already, that's actually kind of a big deal to be able to record things, come up with an idea, and then save it as a tape reel and just load up something else. that's huge, because often I've found with using the original OP1, I would create an idea and record some stuff in and feel really good about it. But then I would kind of feel stuck because I didn't want to lose what I had created. So I'd need to then wait till I got to my computer to be able to download those files onto my computer to back them up. And then I could feel free to, overwrite stuff and start recording new things. So I could only really work on one thing at a time on the original OP1. On the OP1 Field, I can crank out a bunch of ideas and kind of save them all as different reels, and then go back in later and kind of listen back through what I created and see, oh yeah, that was cool, or oh yeah, that one actually is not that cool, let me delete that. So that aspect alone, I think, is a huge upgrade from the original OP1. So, should you buy an OP1? And if yes, which one to buy? I think that everybody should have an OP1. I think that if you like music, if you enjoy making music, please don't overthink it. Buy an OP1. You're going to love it. Get lost in creating and, letting the cryptic way the interface is just be inspiring, and it just lends itself to happy accidents. It's so much fun. The Field, I think, is great for OP1 enthusiasts, that it's a very heavy part of their workflow. Like for me, I use the OP1 almost daily. I love the OP1 Field. The original, though, I think it's 90% the same, honestly. I mean, looking at the website here, let me look at this. This is where they list all of the new features of the OP1 Field. So many of these could be put in an update to the original OP1. Not all of them. Some of them are legitimate hardware upgrades, but a lot of them could just absolutely be done in software, and I would suspect eventually would make their way over to the original OP1. The new preset synth patches, the new patches sound great. We could put them on the old one too. They run on this it's exactly the same. They're presets. A new range of custom accessories. That's okay, fine. Dude, come on. You don't have to new font. It's a new font, you guys. There's a new font. Look, don't be ashamed of the original OP1. This is phenomenal still. 10 years later, it is still a phenomenal piece of gear that I don't think is overpriced for what it's going at on Reverb and eBay and stuff, which I think is around $800, $900. Let me check. Yeah, I'm looking on Reverb right now, and $925, $915, $1,000. I think that is a fair price for an OP1. I use it all the time. I use it way more than I use my Matriarch. I love the Matriarch. I think Matriarch's incredible, but I end up using the OP1 more. I feel like I can do more things with it. It's more inspiring to play. And, this gets incredibly subjective really quickly, but the OP1 Field, I would never really recommend to anybody to buy unless they really like their OP1 currently and they really want that much more out of it. Sure, then get the OP1 Field. But the original OP1 is still 90% as good. So if you can get 90% of the product for less than half the price, I think there's no question, get the original OP1. Let me know what you think about the OP1. Do you think that it's worth that much? Do you think that it's overpriced? Do you think it's still a fair deal? I want to know what you think. And let me know if you have any specific questions about how the OP1 works or want to hear any examples of anything. I would love more excuses to play this thing. So yeah, let me know in the comments below. If you want to know more about music theory or producing in general, I have courses available on Skillshare that you can watch by clicking the link below in the description box. I also have a newsletter you can sign up for that gives you free patches and samples and that sort of thing I'll send out from time to time. And lastly, if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Subscribe, hit the bell, drop a comment, like it, all that stuff. All right, well, that's going to do it. I'll see you guys next time.